My name is Adrian Wooldridge. I'm the co-author with John Micklethwait of God is Back, How the Revival of Religion is Changing the World. This book is not a book about theology. We're not saying in this book that God is due to return to earth. What we're saying is that religion is back in the world as a force for social change. It's something that anybody who wants to understand the world at the moment needs to reckon with. Well, what inspired us to write the book, I think in many ways, was the aftermath of September the 11th. What people saw on September the 11th was the horrific fact of religious fundamentalism. And I think that led to a widespread re-evaluation of religion. It was clear that religion hadn't gone away. It was clear that the most sort of dramatic fact of the 21st century was a bunch of religious fanatics felling this great symbol of modernity, the Twin Towers. So I think it was really as a result of that that we began to look at why religion was so powerful, why was it so vibrant. And the big question about September the 11th was this just an aberration? Was this just a tiny group of fanatics? Well, of course, to some extent it was, but if you look, you had been seeing around the world a resurgence of Islamic fundamentalism and broader Islamic faith since about the 1970s. And so we began to look at the role of religion in public life, and everywhere we looked, we discovered that religion was really on the march in public life, in the public square, that it was shaping politics in an ever more important way. Obviously, that's true in the Islamic world with the falling of the Shah of Iran's regime. You had what was then a secular regime becoming a very religious fundamentalist regime. You could see it right across the Middle East, but also if you look at the United States, you can see religion advancing in public life. In the Carter years, Carter was elected as an evangelical Christian. In the Reagan years, Reagan was obviously very much in cahoots with the so-called religious right, and of course in the Bush years, the religion was a very powerful shaping force for the Bush presidency. So we began to think that this whole secularization thesis had been completely wrong, that religion was actually something that is shaping our world at the moment in very fundamental ways, and that in order to understand the world, in order to understand contemporary history, you need to understand God, you need to understand religion. So that was really what drove us to it. Also, I would add that when we were writing this book, I was based in the United States, and I was covering the Bush presidency. And the Bush presidency was something in which religion was always there, either in the foreground or the background. So that made me think, gosh, religion really is a very important force. It in some ways sees the world with America very much in mind. The world's most powerful superpower is also a country that had a president who was profoundly religious, who started every day on his knees, who started at a cabinet meeting.
Nothing like a little spirituality to prepare my mind for
this book is both descriptive and prescriptive. It's descriptive of the rise of religion as a force in public life, but it's also prescriptive, and it says that if we're going to solve a lot of problems that we confront, we have to take on the religious angle. And a lot of this is to do with foreign policy. Most people in the diplomatic world, most strategic thinkers, most diplomats, don't really think about religion. They think it's something that's dead or irrelevant, and they certainly don't think of religion as being a source of solutions to problems. And I think if we're going to solve the huge tensions between Islam and Christianity in particular, but also between other religious faiths, we need to have religion as part of the solution as well as part of the problem. We have to involve religious people in solving those problems. We have to negotiate much more with religious leaders, and we have to encourage religious leaders much more to solve their problems. The classic example of where this worked, I think, was Northern Ireland, where eventually, after many years, the British began to involve the religious leaders of the Catholic and Protestant communities in talking to each other and in telling people that going around blowing people up and killing them is not part of the religious faith. And I think we need to be much more sensitive to the potential of religion to solve conflicts.